Hi, my name is Tsao-Lin E, and this is part two of menopause and weight loss. This is a really important thing, and what makes Chinese medicine practitioners, acupuncturists different from a Western model is we're not looking to fix them. We're going to help them to get a better grasp on how their body actually works. We can help them understand from that perspective of how to get themselves into a place of balance, right? So, for again, identifying the constitutional type, the yin and yang within the body, constitution plus what else is going on? How are they eating? Their environmental stressors, right? We can't be there all the time. So these are things that they're going to have to identify and then work with. Um, so, so body and fluids are really believed to be derived from food and drink, and they serve to nourish and warm the muscles and the skin and lubricate our joints, right? And they also surround our brain. So this is really like something to not just address with herbs, but really incorporate dietary recommendations. So I just want to give like an example of one of my patients. She's 52. I actually treated her 20 years ago. So I really know what her constitution was when she was younger. Was a very, let's say, lung, large intestine, stomach, spleeny type. She had chronic constipation, a lot of weight on below, right? She was, and why I say lung, large intestine is she emotionally was dealing with like trauma from her childhood, like grief, loss of a parent, and then also like holding on to things that weren't really true, but as a child, she believed them. And she was also very damp because she had like a lot of squishy fluid. So recently she came to see me, and after having kids, and then she had moved to the south, very damp and hot where she was, which was not great for her constitution. So this is also, we look at seasonally, you can figure out someone's constitution also, like how they are seasonally. What do they prefer? How are they're a lot better. Some people are perfectly fine in 100-degree weather and 90% humidity. I'm not one of them, but some people even will need a sweater, right? They're very dry, and they are always cold, and so the heat and the moisture, they love. So she's been working a lot and stressing. Her main complaint was this weight gain and swelling, right? That she was starting to swell. She was having frequent urination, but she was still gaining all of the water. So she, was working a lot, high cortisol, overall not getting enough sleep, and especially at night. This is this circadian rhythm, and again, going back to women have a cycle, men too, right? If men don't sleep at night, it actually really affects their fertility and their sperm production. So we are creatures that need to be much closer to nature. So when someone's not sleeping, then we know that that's also they're off balance. And so strategy, because she's in menopause, I was looking, both her yin and yang were kind of diminishing, though not at the same rate. So lots of water in her body. Am I thinking kidney? Yes, because of her adrenals, right? And also that the Jing is depleting and her constitution. But also from a five elements perspective, the water is not nourishing the wood. So she had this liver deficiency, right? Because liver is involved with the blood. It's involved with the uterus reproduction. It's responsible for the smooth flow of chi and blood and our emotions. So really, the strategy was like, okay, how can we address this simply, right? Because when the body is in a state of fluctuation, you want to have a clear direction to the body. So The more complex a person's symptoms, then the more simple you want the treatment to be. So the first order is, how can I bring this person into balance? How can I help them so that then their body is going to heal, they'll balance out, and then they'll get stronger and they can at the same time make adjustments. So in terms of, let's say, the strategy with acupuncture, so this is where we're looking at what methods do we have. We have food, we have acupuncture, we have herbs, we've got some cupping. We're checking constitutionally and where the person is. We have teas as well. Okay, so in terms of the strategy for this person, and I think this is something that is, no matter what, you're not going to do any harm with somebody, is to look at source points and also shoe points. So for this patient, really my focus was, spleen, like spleen 3, liver 3, large intestine 4 combination, like kind of get things moving. Adding in spleen 9 or 7 for all the dampness, CV9 for that fluid, so fluid accumulation. Also daimai, right? Because a lot of the fluid was below, so kind of like sitting in water. Kidney 7, which actually goes to daimai. So really, and then according to Kiko Matsumoto style, really like looking at stomach chi, which is, finding the points, and that's around stomach 36, 37, 39. So really like looking at the stomach, the large intestine, small intestine, because we are looking at digestion, right? Now, in terms of food, warm foods, for someone who has the damp, we want warm and kind of like gentle dispersing. So I always think of something like a little bit of cinnamon, so that actually increases a little bit of the peripheral circulation, and it's actually warm. It's also great for someone who might have difficulty with sugar metabolism, and maybe even pre-diabetic. That's actually something that can be incorporated, right? In addition, looking at excellent probiotic. With your patients, you also want to look at dietary adjustments. These are absolutely a must. And a kind of detoxification support, whether it's lymphatic, some different kinds of foods to clear out, to help the system release metabolic waste, let's say. And also, oftentimes in menopause, with lower estrogen, there's an increase of what is known as the non-alcoholic fatty liver, which means that there is this weight gain because the liver is not able to process, right? So everything gets backed up. In terms of formulas, basic formulas, I like ones that are less than 10 ingredients. And again, because we're looking at the perimenopause, menopausal state is in fluctuation. So it's not that stable. So you start adding a lot into the mix. Then what happens is that you're sending mixed messages. So better to go simple. I love like Jawe Shayo-san, right? The Shayo-san, for someone who has a spleen, like kind of worrying type of personality. Gui Pitong or Swanzao Ren. Again, for yin and blood deficiency, and this is this recent research with Yi Wei Tong and Shashan Maimen Tong, which are very close. It's actually used for premature ovarian failure they're looking at. So it also gently nourishes the yin in the blood. And so nothing wrong with possibly adding those formulas if you know your patient and you also know herbs, right? So we don't want to just give herbs based on formula, based on a protocol only, right? We need to do a good diagnosis. Okay, so in terms of food and diet, I cannot emphasize more. This is where the gold is. Your patients absolutely must make changes. It's really, if they're not willing to do that, then it's um, you're constantly battling, right? So things like eating fresh and organic, primarily plant based, because it's a lot cooler and nourishing. I didn't put it in the list, but in season, right? And this is also a way to be in the cycle of the season and also have the body go with the season, right? And also the food is much more nutritious because you're going to because it is actually going to have a higher nutritional value to it, right? Um, no diet drinks or artificial sweeteners. One of the traps for women that are trying to they're trying to lose weight is that they start looking for diet foods and things that are 0 calories or fat free and things, but that actually is very problematic because we do need fats. And in fact, because we are becoming yin and blood deficient, that it's really important that we have fats and eating foods like a bone broth, right? Or even marrow, stews, right? That are going to be nourishing. We can add in even the da zhao, the jujube beads, right? Really looking at more of like kind of medicinal soups, and we're really getting excited about it too, right? Um, Gluten and dairy can be very inflammatory, and so even when my patients say I'm fine with gluten, I really encourage them to maybe try to limit certain foods, or to do something called food combining, right? And that's a strategy where if you're going to have a starch, then you eat it with like leafy green, or leafy green with an animal protein, but you don't eat like animal protein with a starch because that changes the absorption and the sugars, the way we digest. Alcohol, and so these are things to look into, and I would actually encourage you to try them yourself, right? The best is if you experience, you can also share it. The other thing too is you can decide, hey, for all of my patients that are in their 40s, 50s, and kind of going through a change, let's do it together. Let's do a sleep, like work on our sleep. Let's work on eating more vegetables and fruits and stuff, and really come up with recipes and stuff to get involved. I think if you're involved with your patients and you're excited about it, that you're going to have a better outcome for them. And always the idea is to kind of teach them, right? Alcohol, preferably none. Alcohol is not good. It reduces the immune system. It causes inflammation. Actually, yeah. So um, I know there's maybe some. That's something that people will have to make a decide to do that, right? There's plenty of evidence that it's not really great and it can cause inflammation. So why do that? And again, oh, and I mentioned the food combining. Okay, and let's see where we are. Yes, here's some wonderful food. So one of the things that is really useful is to certain kinds of foods are can help with hormonal health. So things like seeds. One of the strategies for the menstrual cycle is something called seed cycling, and then using the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle to then have flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. um, so these are things that you can actually incorporate and encourage. I would encourage, because again, even though, like I showed in the very beginning of the slides, that the period is ending, the cycle is still going on underneath. And so being able to look at the cycle and nourish according to where the cycle is going to make a difference. So once you find, it's like when you find the wave, then you can ride the wave. If you don't know where you are on a wave, you're going to be tumbling and be pulled in the current. And then, okay, so this last of part, and this is teaching your patients self-care. Now, here's the thing, consistency and commitment is going to get a result. And so I know oftentimes patients say, how many times do I need to do it? Or how long before it will happen? And really, everybody is different. But one thing is certain, they need to commit, to make that commitment and have the consistency. And really look at, like, when do they give up? You know, sometimes they just give up or it's too hard, right? The thing is, you know, that's you know, where we can help and coach them through and encourage them. So little kind of wins, you know, like they you know, stop drinking diet stuff. We need to, like, say, great, you know, how long are you doing it? uh Helping with a mindfulness practice, this is a really big thing, because stress is going to increase cortisol. It's going to cause sleep problems, going to cause more problems with weight. It's going to interfere with hormonal balancing and emotional stability. And so, having a mindfulness practice, I encourage doing breath work. I do it every morning. I do Wim Hof breathing, and I've done Groff technique. And really, what does breath work do? It helps you with your nervous system. But also, when you do breath work, it actually pumps your lymph, right? It actually supports your organs. And this is important to kind of get of the inflammation and move the fluids. Sleep hygiene, again, uh, making sure to go to bed at night. Really important is get off of the phones, stop with the Netflix and the videos and the Instagram and the Facebook, even though we're on Facebook, to really stop that, because it actually interrupts our brain patterns. It also creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry. And then on top of that, we've got cortisol and the stress, and that creates more of this, like, cycle of doom and gloom. Exercise and movement, again, to move the chi in the blood, not overdoing it, but really looking at what is the purpose, is to increase the blood flow, tone the muscles, and it can be used as a practice. Lymph drainage, again, with the breath work, but also I encourage, you know, teaching your patients how to actually do a little lymphatic massage on themselves, or even to get some body work for that. And then again, making the dietary adjustments, such as preparing food themselves. And this is something that you can offer to your patients in your newsletter or in your posts, some healthy recipes. Again, you can decide to do, you know, a campaign maybe in January, as we're coming up on the you know, people making resolutions, or even maybe before, start before, since we're heading into Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the cookies, et cetera, to really start creating things as tools for them. So this is the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, please to put them in the chat, and we can get back to you. Thank you.